Hey everybody, JJ here, back for another Saturday Zoom networking. We had an unbelievable guest speaker for you today. This gentleman's out of the Sub 2 community of Pace Morby. As I say, whenever we got Pace's people on the call, if you've not heard Pace Morby and Sub 2, you're living under a rock. It is the premier real estate education program in the country, and our guest speaker is no exception. This gentleman is a father, husband, family man, entrepreneur, business person, leader within the community of Sub 2, my good friend, Mr. Oscar Setiawan. Did I say that correctly? I think I was close.
That was perfect.
Fantastic. Oscar, how are you?
I'm very good, my friend. I'm very good. It's busy for me this weekend because I'm in Florida. We just experienced Ian, so it's probably everyone know. So I was in Orlando since Monday, and we lost power in Orlando. But we have a bunch of projects in Fort Myers. So I actually just spent the entire day going to Costco and getting all food supplies, water, gasoline, and everything, so I can drive down there and help my friends and help my team in Fort Myers. We still don't have power, so I'll be spending down 1 week there in Fort Myers starting tonight.
Wow. So let me ask you. There's a hurricane going on in Florida, and Jason Lombardi actually had to evacuate his city.
Yeah.
Due to that, has it kind of calmed down a little bit there now? Is it the weather's a little bit more manageable, or?
It is. For example, I'm in Disney Springs right now because that's where we can get internet. It's business as usual here in Orlando. So, but as you go south, you start seeing the devastation. I keep looking at the data and everything, the real life highway, updates. So we still have roads that is closed, infrastructure that is destroyed, especially around Northport, Venice. That's where Jason is. Port Charlotte, Fort Myers. It's very, very similar to Hurricane Charlie, which just happened about 2003, I believe. So a lot of devastation there, and a lot of people in Fort Myers still doesn't have power, and probably won't have power for another 2-3 weeks. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge there.
So you're there to take your properties and such. Where are you based? What part of the country are you from?
I am in Chicago. So I built my real estate business starting in Chicagoland area. But for the last 2 years, I've been splitting my time between here and Southwest Florida. We started doing new construction in Southwest Florida, especially in Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda. That's pretty much where the hurricane passed by. So, me and my groups are trying to look at the damage that's been done. I know a couple of people already start filing claims because of the new construction damage. So yeah, this next week's going to be a lot of hard work and going to clear the debris and whatnot, working with the local officials to see what we can do.
Wow. That's impressive. I talk a lot about, some of our guest speakers, those from Sub 2, you guys, I just say you guys, it's like a rock star lineup. When you see all the people from the daily dial, the nightly dial, and all the different venues that Pace provides for people to get assistance from within the community. What did you do before real estate? Have you always been in real estate? Did you start as a kid with a mail route and go door knocking in junior high school, or how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, I was born in Indonesia, that is in Southeast Asia. My family migrated to the U.S. when I was 15. I grew up in an entrepreneur family. My dad was a doctor, and he owned his own practice. My mom was always more the entrepreneur side. She owned a lot of different companies, all small businesses, a restaurant, a salon, a barbershop, a clothing store, everything. So I grew up around entrepreneurs. I help out For example, I remember mixing, and this is probably illegal here. I remember mixing pills and tablets for my dad, following his recipe. So because he's selling like diet pills back when I was like maybe 6, 7 years old. I helped my mom pack um, clothes, for sale and labeling them, and helping them cut, pieces of fabric and all that stuff. So, I have a tendency of, just growing up and doing, helping people around and just kind of dabbling in different types of activities, either on my parents, my family. And when I went to the US, I just continue, even when I was in high school. I remember I sold like trading cards. I sold baseball card, basketball cards, comic books, and whatever I can. Um, and when I graduated, I actually worked for Motorola for 12 years. Typical Asian, you got to be an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. I chose to be an engineer. So, and I worked for Motorola for 12 years. Good job. It didn't, it's just have a ceiling at the end of the day where you can't really go out of that ceiling because of politics and all that stuff. So I decided to quit and I opened my restaurant. So that was kind of like the first business, quote unquote, that I had officially. I was a restaurateur. I was also a wedding photographer. So I had multiple businesses. But not until 2016, I started real estate. And the reason I started real estate was because at that point, I have a couple daughters, and I realized that all the business that I have, they're all active business, right? I see people come and go. I see when someone get hurt and the business stuff, and that it just dawns to me that if one day, and we don't know what God has in plan for us, one day if I can work or I can't do my activities, then the income will stop, right? So I search, what are the things that I can do to leave at that time, a legacy to my family, right? And obviously, like a lot of us, and I know like Sasha, we went to Bigger Pockets. Uh, for the first 1 year, I absorbed whatever Bigger Pockets. But Bigger Pockets is like a wild, wild west, right? You have a lot of people giving you a lot of advice, and if you're not careful, you just basically, not will not be able to take action, and you just listen to people. So I joined a local group. I read books, and I started my real estate in 2016, mostly with rentals, because at that point I still have an active income. So my goal was to have passive income, right? And fast forward 2020, COVID happened. So when COVID happens, I had to close my restaurant. And that's when I started doing real estate full time, meaning, 40, 50 hours spent, right? Before I was only doing probably like 20, 25 hours of real estate. Basically, if there's anything that is on sale, I'll look at it in terms of how can I make that rental, right? I barely do any flips. I probably do a couple of flips, a couple of wholesale, but I wasn't really active until 2020. And so 2020, when a restaurant stopped, I had to pivot, and I basically jumped full time to real estate. And going forward now, I have, I do probably like 4 flips a month. I do probably 2 to 3 wholesales a month, and I have probably about 20 to 30 rentals doors, and we start building new construction. So, yeah. So when you dedicate your time to create a new business, which is part of the things that we want to talk about, it will be successful, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and dedication to it, right?
So as you started your journey into real estate and being an entrepreneur, at what point in time did you fall into Sub 2? Is that right away, or what year?
I was probably one of the first 50 people that joined. I was in the first meeting. So if you go to the first Zoom that Pace ever had, maybe in I remember it was May 2020, that they started with kind of getting people in and people can join. So I believe I was like the first 50 or 60 people because I was in the first Zoom. So yeah, I've been part of the sub 2, and I can see the growth and everything since the very beginning.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been familiar with, I tell people about networking. And I tell folks it's important to network, make themselves known. You market yourself, you don't market your business. And as people market themselves well, that others will become familiar with their name before they get to know the person. I became familiar with your name before I became familiar that we ever spoke, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that was from the Daily Dial. You're one of the pivotal, crucial, high visibility people there. Tell us how you came to be on the Daily Dial, and for those that aren't familiar with it, maybe what it is and what your role is.
Yeah. So it started with me, Don Rich, and back then Rich Pennington. The three of us, we were very active. We were answering people in Zoom, the separate Zoom. We used to have small Zooms here and there, and the three of us, I think we spoke with Caroline at that time, and we decided to start a daily Zoom. At that point, it wasn't called a daily dial; it was just a daily Zoom, right? And it was me, Don, and Rick that would just alternate every single day. So that's I was kind of like the original founder. Me and Don were the original founders, and Caroline to the Daily Dial, and we were doing that for a good year until Caroline started adding different people, different writing leaders into the mix, and that's how it grew. And I I kind of stepped back from Daily Dial this past summer because I realized that I need to do some vertical integration to my business, and I needed time. And with summer, I also needed time with my family, so I stepped back from the Daily Dial. But I was basically in the Daily Dial for since the beginning.
Now, currently, I think the way the Daily Dial functions is there's different people on certain days. Are you one of those people on one of those days?
Yep, I used to be on Wednesday, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yep, that was my time, my slot, and sometimes I would also fill up for some people, but my time was like Wednesday on the East Coast, right? Mm-hmm.
So now, as you're moving forward with your career as an investor and an entrepreneur, are you on multiple platforms? Are you focusing purely on rentals? Is it single family, multifamily? Is it in one state, multiple states?
At this point, we're growing the business in South Florida. In South Florida, we're basically focused on construction and doing build for all. Because we see a lot of opportunities in building from ground up with the kind of like building spec homes. But instead of selling it, we are going to rent it out. So we're building spec home that is designed for rental. All the materials, all the layouts and everything is designed to put tenants in it. Either that, or if we do a single family, then we are going to design that, the layout that we have, me and my group, we're doing that for Airbnb, for example. So, there's a lot of thoughts behind it. If we're doing it for single family, we are going to go certain areas where there's a lot of Airbnb activities, and we're building that, and where we can get a minimum rate that is double or even more than what we could get in rentals, for example. And then there are duplexes and triplexes that we're building right now that is around the Class B, near Class B apartment, and those are the areas that we're focusing on to just add to the rental.
Wow. Yeah. Sounds like very, very active program you've got going on there. As you began your journey and now you're one of the leaders in the community, was there anybody that played a pivotal role for you, maybe as a mentor, besides Pace, maybe? I mean, is there anybody that really stood out to you, or someone that you feel really impacted your growth as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few people that's local to my community. One of them, his name is Andrew Cole. I'm actually part of his group here in Chicagoland area. He holds one of the biggest RIA meetings here, and I'm also part of his paid programs. And that's really similar to how Pace created a sub-2 community. It's more like a community of network of people, of investor that talk to each other, that learn from each other more than just come in and have a drink. So we would help each other out. We would use the same resources. We would help each other out in terms of, hey, which area do we go next, right? And that's also how we got into Southwest Florida, because it's the same group that that grows and say, hey, I don't think Chicagoland is good or is growing enough that we can grow our rental portfolios anymore. Right. So we searched a lot of areas during COVID. We went to Florida, Texas, Arizona, and we did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research within our group. And then we decided on Florida. So
and may I ask again, what is the name of this individual?
his name is Andrew Holmes.
I didn't get the last name.
Holmes, Holmes.
Oh, Holmes. Okay, Andrew Holmes. Great. So tell me a little bit about. I don't want to get too personal at all, but do you have any pets at the house? Yeah, a dog, cat, that kind of thing. Are the kids involved in sports, or are the kids bigger? Are they smaller?
I have a 13 and a 15-year old. The 15-year-old, her name is Audrey. She's kind of been helping me with real estate. She's been my property manager right now for a couple of years, and she's been a social media manager for me too. So if you see the post that I post daily on Instagram, that's her doing it. With my approval. So try to keep her engaged in what I do, and he's pretty much enjoying it. The 13-year-old is the one that's challenging. She doesn't know what she wants to do yet, but I think she's more of a digital metaverse kind of person, so my last task for her was I created a Meta account, and I have her go in and see if she can buy land from me in Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens with that. So she's just been trying to look up, the digital world and NFTs and all this stuff. So, but I try to have my daughters just follow their passion, just to see what they're interested in, instead of, forcing what I do. It's just that Audrey is very, very much in tune with what I do. So that works out great. While Adeline, my 13-year-old, still kind of, here and there.
That's awesome. That it sounds like you are, to be able to, I'll just say, do the business with your kids is fantastic. But it just sounds like you got such the great relationship with them and the great communication, which is, as we all know, pivotal in raising kids and having them be on the right path. Your life as an entrepreneur, and has this allowed you more time with your kids? I know we're all busy, but I guess has this allowed you guys to travel at all, or how has this impacted your family then maybe before you had seen becoming a successful entrepreneur?
We love travel, and then this is part of our quote-unquote family success, that we're able to get this time back, right? With all the passive income and everything that is going on in our life, which is great. We love to travel. We're going back to Indonesia this December. We haven't gone back in 3 years because of COVID. And we always spend time in the summer to travel. We just spent time like 2 weeks in New York City. Getting the girls, just all over the place that they haven't been. We love to travel worldwide. Love to show, our family, especially the girls, just kind of have a world mindset, that, a lot of business are made, not only in the US, but the opportunity is in worldwide right now. So we're even talking about, getting Airbnb in Bali, all this stuff that outside the place that we want to go into, right? So if we want to go to Japan all the time, we want to get a condo in Tokyo.
Of course.
So these are the conversation that I have with my family. And it's fun, right? So the next time we come in, to a country, it's almost like a business trip because we're looking for an opportunity to look for an apartment, a small house or whatever that we can to just, have something that we can come back to whenever we visit out.
That was going to lead to my next question is what do you have on the horizon as far as travel, maybe places you want to go, things you want to do now that you have this passive income and a lifestyle which affords you a little bit more opportunity. What's on the horizon for you?
I think real estate is very cyclical, and I think we're in the middle of something big. It would be like almost one in a lifetime thing. So, I set myself, and this is probably off topic, but I'm 44 right now. I set myself, me and my wife, that we're gonna retire when we're 50, right? And when the word retire just means that, if we don't want to work, that's fine, right? It's not me. It doesn't mean that the business doesn't continue. But at that point, we want to be owners of businesses. We don't want to be in the business. We want to be on the business, right? So the next 6 years is very, very critical for me. I'm liquidating a lot of assets. I'm moving my assets to Florida, Texas, and all the other states that is more, landlord friendly. So I'm sitting with a lot of cash to see what's going on in the next 6 to 12 months, and not only in Chicago but also everywhere in the world. Right, like we said, I have a world mindset now where I want to see opportunity because, I have a lot of connections in Indonesia, and man, I miss a lot of deals when COVID happened. There was a fire sale in Bali of people liquidating their Airbnb because like no one was there, and I miss that, right? Because obviously no one knows what's going on, but I believe in the next 12, 16 months, something milder is going to happen again, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very strategic decision that we have to make in terms of business, in terms of system, right? Especially for me. That's why when you ask me on the topic, to me, I always want to treat everything as business and how I build systems around it, so I can be an owner eventually, right? Because that's my goal. Right, I'm doing vertical integration to a lot of business that I have. I have a property management business. I have a marketing generation business. I have a bookkeeping business that I'm growing to. And everyone, I'm putting the right people in it so that eventually, come 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I can just be an owner to all this business.
I love how you're preparing for what's next and how you've already prepared up to now. And that's something I need to do. I've got my properties that are not exactly in the landlord friendly state. And that just, brings home the point for me to make that next move. We got a couple questions. A couple folks had a couple questions. I want to bring a couple people on. Justin Kramer, you are on with Oscar Setiawan. What's your question, brother?
Hey, Justin.
Hey, Oscar. First of all, thank you for being here and for sharing your wisdom with us. It's super valuable. So I'm a beginning business owner. I'm in the beginning stages of my journey, and I'm actually just kind of curious, like what did your beginning stages look like? What was that for you when you first started? What did it look like?
Great question. In the beginning, I at that point in my life in 2016, I know what I'm good at, right? I know what my strength is, and even though I don't know what it takes per se, I know that with a lot of hard work, I can understand real estate better than anyone else. That I know that because that's my strength. I can always learn things really, really fast, right? And I can implement things really, really fast. That's usually my trait, right? As an engineer background, I'm able to, really look at, this whole big piece of mess and then, break it down into systems, into procedures and everything. So I know that for sure. I know. So, to answer your question, know your strengths first, right? And then in a lot of things, in a lot of business, especially real estate, there's 3 things. And you might heard about it. There's the skills or the talent, there's the money, and there's the time. right? And in the beginning, you have to know what you have, right? And that's what you need to leverage. For example, in the beginning, I know if I want to scale up, right? Because I had a goal in the beginning in 2016. It's a very simple goal. It was just I want to try one rental, one wholesale, and one flip. That's it. And all residential in around different zip codes. That's it, right? I'm laser focused, right? I don't want to do multifamily. I don't want to, big apartment complex. I just want to do residential. I want to do one buy and hold, one wholesale, one flip so I can experience it, right? And after that, I would break it down. How do I accomplish that? Right. So I see that I can put my time and I can put my skill, meaning like I can learn, right? The one thing that I don't have is the abundance of money, right? As everyone is, right? And hence my first focus is to find a money partner. That's me. Some of you has money, right? But you don't have the time or you don't have the skill, right? So now if you have money, you don't need to be ashamed. You just need to find someone like me or Culture or like maybe a Justin that have the time and they have the skill, right, to partner on projects. I was able to find a money partner, right? And there was, and that's part of the lending, right? Before you even have a business, right? You got to know where your money is coming from, right? How are you going to get this money to make your business run, right? And that's me. I was able to break it down, right? So if you were able to break it down, your strength and what you need, right? In addition to what your core of your business are already, and it doesn't need to be perfect. In the beginning, I want to do real estate, right? I want to do one flip, one buy and hold, one wholesale. That's it, But something in real estate because I want to try it, right? I want to do it, right? So you should ask the question to yourself: what are you good at? Right? What is it the thing that you do naturally, right? If you were able to learn about multifamily, can you learn it in 24 hours? Well, it takes people a week, for example, right? If you were to do a rehab, are you handy with your tool? Are you able to break it down? Are you able to talk to people, right? And if the only thing that you need is money, then that's to me actually money is the easy part. Right, like at this point, I'm able to network with people with different private money lenders, but it didn't start that way, right? I had to prove myself first, right? I had to really date, become a long-term relationship with my partner right? And for me, it was a really good journey because it was a journey where you discover, that private money is everywhere.
Yeah.
But the way you act and the way you approach people are very, very specific.
Mhm.
All right. I'll give you an example. Like some people say, "Oh, hey, I'm a private money lender. You know, if you want money, come to me." Well, guess what? They're not private money lender. I can guarantee you 100%. Okay? Private money lender will advertise themselves as private money lender. Okay, a private money lender advertise themselves is either a scam or they're hard money.
Yeah.
Right. And so, where do you find it? That's probably hard in the beginning, but once you find a source, it's just gonna continue to snowball. Right.
Sure.
And that's my story, right? That's literally how I started. 2 months into real estate. I network with a lot of people, I talk with a lot of people, but and on every conversation, I'm always focused and say, hey, I have time. I have the skill. I need a partner. Every conversation is focused like that. Right? It's never a different story. So if people is not matching, it's okay. They're in your Rolodex, but you continue with the next person. You continue with the next person. And you find someone who say, oh, you know what? I do have something in my retirement fund that I can use. But man, Oscar, I don't have the time because I'm at work. I have to take care of my kids. and I'm not as experienced as you, you'll find that person, right? If you have the same trait as me, for example, right? So hopefully that answered the question. That's kind of like a long answer, but
That was great.
that's really the first year of my experience. That's really what happened. We really went. I remember my first private money lender, which is still my private money lender right now. We met at McDonald's after a RIA meeting. We scratched things out on the piece of paper where you give that. McDonald's give you a tray, right? The tray has a liner, right? In the back of the liner. I literally wrote down my plan. Like, hey, Rich, his name is Rich. Hey, Rich, this is what I want to do. I want to do one wholesale, I want to do one flip, and I want to do one buy and hold. Where am I going to get that? With the buy and hold, I'm going to go to the auction. And in order to go to the auction, I need money. And I know the auction is going to come up with that. This is what back then in 2016, right?
Yeah.
And the auction, if you want to get this property, I need $80,000, right? And that's really how it's really laser focused.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And if you think about it, it's really, quote unquote, becoming your business plan in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. Your real estate business is about experiencing in the beginning, experiencing what you want to do. And after that, you get a taste what you want to do more.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to do one wholesale, one flip, and one buy and hold in the beginning, and we'll see. But then everything it becomes snowballing, and before you know it, I had three flip, two buy and hold, and the rest is wholesale.
Yeah. So did that transition you over into liking flipping more? Is that kind of where you went from that, or developing?
So to me, it's about operating income and how you can continue doing what you can without your own money or without of your own money tied in, right? So when after I tried doing my first rental, my first rental is a good cash flowing, which I literally just sold like last month. we bought it at 60,000 back in 2016. I sold it for 300,000, right? Because of so I was able to get out like almost 100,000 or more, right? Yeah. But the point is this: even at $60,000 back then, I had some money stacked, right? And that made the realization that if you want to keep holding, right? Now the unicorn is always, hey, if you can get all your money out, you can. But guess what? I also own a bookkeeping company, and if I look at my books and my clients' books, really, if you look at everything, no one can really get all their money out, all 100%. Okay, maybe 99%. But there's always soft cost, right? There's always things. I mean, if you get it really detailed. Now, what you see on the cuts and what you see on the profit and loss is different. Believe me, right? People can say, I can show you my cuts when I make $200,000, $150,000, but that money will go down after you take all the expenses, right?
There's still money left in the property. There's still money left.
Yeah, but but once in a while, you will have a unicorn house where you really didn't want and you actually do cash out refi, and that happened to me. But don't expect that to happen. Like for me, my ratio is like every 10 buy and hold, I was able to do maybe 2 to 3, where literally I only have like soft costs, meaning I probably only have like 5,000 because that 5,000 is the refi cost. That refi cost is something you still have to pay, right? It's part of the deal. So when you say, oh my God, I got $50,000 out, it's not $50,000 out because there's 5,000 that's actually part of that debit and credit. You know what I mean? Yeah, so sense. I'm a nerd in terms of that. That's why like people will probably get bored when I talk about numbers, but that's really how I work. That's why I'm like,
but it's important.
Yeah, right. But that's okay. That's okay. It's not bad. When you have 5 to 10,000 and cash flow and you have your cash on cash return is 20%, that's not bad. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's bad, but don't just look at people that say, oh my God, I got all my cash out and I'm going to continue doing that. No, because if you're running a business and you're full time, then where do you come up with the money to continue your next buy and hold? Right? And that money comes from wholesale and that money comes from flip. So in my company, what we do is we do 2 to 3 flips, either two flips or one wholesale. We do 3 and then we do one buy.
Gwen Rubio. No, I love Gwen. She's wonderful. Gwen, you got a question for Oscar?
Yeah. So, Oscar, growing up, you had an amazing lifestyle of being exposed to so many different businesses. Mm-hmm. Now, how are you seeing some of that either intuitively or intentionally coming across in your own family? What does that look like, and how is that flowing?
It's interesting now that you're experiencing new deals and new businesses, and a lot of times after the fact, you start remembering your childhood, and like, oh my God, like I learned how to talk like this because at one point I tried to sell my mom's food like this, so that's why, a lot of times I'm good at talking with people, building rapport with people, because that was, kind of like built up during my childhood. I always had to, talk with people, try to sell, and I was a server, I was a storefront manager, I was like a lot of different, relationship that I need to talk to people. It was forced upon my childhood, right? We did a lot of bad deals and we did a lot of good deals. When I came to the US first time, we get spammed a lot. We wouldn't have this mailing that says, oh, you send this $5 and you're gonna get $20. We were like stupid enough that I will spend $5. And then I spent hours on the phone calls like, where's my $20? Right. But this literally, like, now we know it's a scam, right? But we didn't know better. And this was really like 2 months when we got into the US. But experiences, right? But you make new experiences. So this is why I try to involve my family. I try to involve my daughter. Whenever I see something like, say, in Target for sale, I'm like, Audrey, buy them. Like, why? Okay, look at Amazon. The Amazon says, they can sell it for $10. Look at that price, $3. Right? Regardless if she can sell it, it's a moot point. I want her to fail. I want her to just fail a lot before she reaches 18. Right? That's why I tell her to go to like to all my renters that is late. Like, you're gonna be responsible to call them and text them why you're late. Like why you're paying, get money from them. So, and then have her communicate. And if she doesn't know what to do, it's like, okay, well, tell her that. Well, tell him that. Like, tell him like that's $50 fee. Oh, okay. But I want to have that experience, right? So I'm just kind of repeating myself, when I was growing up to my children now, because I know from the failure will come to come.
So giving her that opportunity to be able to literally be out there talking to people in all various situations is going to be such an advantageous situation for her later.
Yeah, I had her call baseball. Like every single day, you have to call one baseball. I don't care. Like you just want to have a conversation.
Good.
Just, at one point, she'd be like, "What is the purpose? The purpose is for you to have conversation. That's it. I don't have any other expectations from you."
Wow, that's fantastic.
So if you have kids, let them fail because they're still under your guidance, right?
Al Dominguez coming on. Al, how you doing?
I'm good, brother.
You are on with Oscar, brother. What's your question?
Yes.
Hey, Al.
Hey, Oscar. First of all, thank you so much for taking time on a Saturday to be with us. So I appreciate that. I'm sure the community does too. My question is, I'm a new into real estate and trying to create those habits, right, that grow your business. What tips would you give as your daily habit that has helped you to grow your business?
So if you're new, like, I'm just telling you what I did in 2016, right? I basically, in order to succeed, right, you have to know, again, going back to your strength and everything, right? So, for example, Al, where do you want to invest right now? Like, do you have a target market?
Right now, I'm invested in Florida, Tennessee, and California.
Okay. How many deals have you done in all of three?
I've been focusing mainly on Tennessee and California for the past few weeks. And Tennessee, I'm going heavy right now.
Okay. So if you're going heavy on Tennessee and if you're just starting, my my beginning advice is to just, drop California, drop Florida, unless you have a specific reason, and just do laser focus. All right. There's a book that I read. It's called the One Thing. Right, and that teaches you to be laser focused at one time to master either a skill or a market. All right. It doesn't mean that you cannot expand. Right. But look at me, because 2016 I was in Chicago. Now I'm in 2 different markets. Actually, I'm in 2.5 different markets. But we are also trying Atlanta, right? Because we like Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, right? But we are heavily into Chicago and Florida now, right? So, but that's after like 3 years or 4 years, right? So I would strongly suggest, because you only have so much time. Right? I don't know, are you doing this full time, or are you doing this kind of like on the side because you have a full time job?
I'm doing this full time, and
Perfect.
I'm starting to, have my schedule blocked. So I'm more focused on like, okay, I have to do these tasks throughout my day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's good. I'm first of all, that's a good start, right? You probably want to make sure that, all your path is towards this market that you have to be an expert, right? You have to live, breathe, and sleep real estate, right? When I ask you, hey, what is this zip code in Tennessee? Is that a good market? You have to like, no, it's bad, right? When I started, and I don't know where you are are you in Tennessee, or are you from?
I'm doing it remotely from California.
You're in California, perfect. When I started, I literally drove a zip code, right? I pick a zip code, and I literally drove that block by block by block for a full month, right? So then when the address pops up, either through a foreclosure list, through an off market, through an MLS, I would know right away where is it and if that's a good pocket, right? Nowadays, you can do this also, right, with Tennessee. So what I would do is, I don't know where you are in Tennessee, I would put 2, 3 zip codes, of your target market, and I would start from there. Start small, 1, 2, 3 zip codes, and then learn and become the most experienced guy in that market, right? And when I say experience, not it's not doing business yet, but when you see something pops up, right away, right? If that's a good deal or not. Right away if you can make an offer on that area. Right away, how much to make an offer for. Right away what is, like, for example, give me a zip code in Tennessee.
Top of my head, I don't know any. I'm using Privy, which is a tool that kind of helps to find out where all the fix and flips are happening, and that's where I go.
Okay, so that's perfect, right? Because back in 2016, there's no Privy, right? There's barely any tool, right? I would just basically go to Zillow and look at, and I would compare one zip code to another zip code, how many closed deals, right? Closed transaction, and I start from there, right? With Privy, you can zoom in on, let's say, 2 zip codes, right? The fact that you don't know zip codes means you're not laser focusing, right? You can't conquer the entire Tennessee. You gotta take Tennessee 1 zip code at a time. All right, get 1 or 2 zip codes, and I'm not saying forever. I'm just saying the first month or the first 2 months, right? You use Privy to zoom in. Well, how many flips happening in this area? How many flips happening? So you see really, really quick, right? What are the zip codes? And then from there, you spend your time block or whatever, on looking at Zillow, on looking at Privy, or whatever tool you want to see what are the comparables, what are the houses. If you drive down Google, what do you see? Do you see uniform places? Who's buying there? Is there a hedge fund, or is there like mom and pop flipper? Right? What are the demographics? Where's the good school? Right? And this stuff you need to master. Right? This is why a lot of people, when they start their goal, right? You want to hit Tennessee. Tennessee is a big state. Right? Everywhere is a big state. You just have to be laser focused. It starts from there, and it will snowball. right? If you wanna do it, start with 2, 3 zip codes, learn those zip codes, and then move on to the other 3 zip codes, right? But believe me when I say, when you are focused on 2, 3 zip codes, you will be faster than anyone else that is covering it as a canvas when there's a deal comes up. Because it's easy enough for you to go into Redfin or go into Zillow and go to Redfin because Redfin is faster. To set a reminder and an instant email, and this is what I did, and I'm still doing it, to set an instant email when a property goes in that zip code, regardless of how much it is, you'll get an instant email, right? And then you can open it up right away and you'll see if that's a good deal. Right? Now that kind of knowledge you have to learn. There's no way around it. There's no Privy, no Propstream, no Zillow that can help you by yourself.
Our last question is by the newest member of the networking group, Zasha. How are you, Zasha?
Aloha, everybody.
Hey, what's your question for Oscar?
My question is, I guess, okay, so just preview this. I've raised over $5 million in private money for my flips, for my rentals and all of that. But they've all been local in Hawaii. And so now I'm getting into, apartment building syndications. I'm a general partner in a few of them. And I've had some resistance with my lender group about, one, lending for longer periods of time, and then 2, lending out of state and not feeling comfortable with, I guess, my partners, even though we have a slide deck, we have all the information and the deals, it's seeming like they only want to lend to me, like they only trust me. So I was wondering what would you do in that situation? Do I now start reaching out to new people, or what would that's why I'm on this call too. Thanks, JJ, because now I need to get more on Facebook and put myself out there because, now my current network we're raising money for an RV park as well. So what I found myself being is, instead of focusing on a specific asset class, I'm just focusing on being like the capital, right? Like raising the capital, being the capital raiser. But I haven't taken any courses or anything that I want to get to that next. But I guess what would your suggestion be for me, since I've been using kind of the same private lenders, but then also putting it out there, getting a couple new, but still, how do I make them more comfortable with my partnerships and investing out of state?
Right. So there's 2 answers for that. Number one is for your current lender, right? For your current lender. You got to get to the bottom of why they hesitate, right? Is it because of the asset, or is it because of the longer term, right? Because it all, you mentioned that it always boils down to, 1 or 2, that I see. I know exactly what you're saying. Like for my private lender, Rich, right? He doesn't want to lend outside Illinois, right? Anything in Illinois, like, done, Oscar, here's the check, right? But like when we go to even Indiana, right, or Florida, it's like, yeah, I'm not too sure, right? So the number one is, for if you do need more money, then it's time to meet with people who are local in the area, right? And that's really something where you have to grow, right? We all have to grow that to that point. But if it's something of a hesitant, meaning like, and I've done this before, because of the asset is not local to him. What I've done is, because I have properties now that is almost free and clear, I'm able to guarantee the asset locally while the money is being put somewhere else. Okay? So, and this works because, for example, Rich is okay if I'm putting, if I borrow, let's say, $200,000, right, for a project in Florida, but I'm guaranteeing the asset in Illinois. Right, so that works. Now, that might be one question to your problem, right? They just don't know what's going on in Florida, but you can say, you know what, this is an asset here in Hawaii, right? This asset, your buy and hold here has enough equity, for example, that you can put a mortgage on it, and it'll be fine because now you can go to that property and you have a mortgage there, for example, and that might work, right? Number 2 is if it's a longer period. Right, there's also an answer for that. For the longer period is, you would say And again, this might be, I'm not in multifamily, right? So I'm not too familiar with how multifamily general partnership. I mean, I know I stretch it a little bit, but you know more than me, right? I'm just in residential and I'm in like all these types of projects, right? But I've got where, okay, if it's the long term that you are concerned about, then I would say let's just do the same, the same term that you have done. And if you're okay with it, then we'll just renew it every, right? And if you're not okay, tell me why, and then I'll replace your money with someone else here, right? Or so it's always usually those two. They're not familiar with the asset, which is fine. Then I'll just put an asset on one of my investment properties. If it's the term, then we'll just do 1 year term or whatever term that you want. That usually we do, and then we'll just do it by annual basis or whatever the same term. We'll just have an option to renew. And that way they're not stuck in because Zasha, you might say, oh, we need this money for 10 years, for example, right? 5 years. And for them, it might be, oh my God, 5 years, I don't know. Especially people who are in their 60s and their 70s, right? It's like, well, I don't know. Right? With private money and what JJ said, mostly older people, will be able to lend more, right? More the younger investor, they have 50, 60,000 and probably can syndicate, but the bigger private lender is usually people in their 50, 60, 70s, right? They have like a $250,000, $1 million, $2 million, things like that from the retirement. So yeah, those things I have done. And this is why I'm splitting my time in Florida too, because I'm starting to network with the Florida investors and the Florida private money guys, right? In addition to the hard money guys, right? I'm setting up my time to meet with local credit union, to all different people too, right? And this is a segue to say also, we can't rely solely on private lending. Like we can, but as we scale, and this is where I'm so focused on my business to make sure I make profit. A lot of people say, I don't want to make profit. I want to make profit so I can show my balance sheet to a local credit union so I can get a line of credit locally so I can build more, and not have to rely solely on private lending. The private lender can come second for like say the rehab, right? For the big part is going to be a line of credit from the local bank, for example. So Sasha, if you haven't done that, the next thing is, and this is why I have like a really good bookkeeper, and I focus on bookkeeping company because I'm prepping my clients to be able to, and this is going to be very, very important for everyone. It's going to be very important in the next year or two because as lender, private lender, everyone comes in and out, the bank will still loan, but the bank will only loan if you can show profit on your company. The SBA will still loan as long as you can show profit in your company. And that starts with having a good book, right? So, so there's like a lot of answers there, right? But, at the end of the day, if you want to have a more investor too in where you're investing, you will have to go and spend time there and just kind of make a relationship with new people. And that could be done too soon, but you know what I mean? Like, you know someone who knows someone who's in there, and then, you present to them, you go there, they're interested, and you take them out to dinner or whatnot, you present them with a personal relationship. You know how private lenders are. It's always through relationship. It's not just, the presentation is just the icing on the cake, right? It's the relationship that we have that enables us to get the 2 million, to get the 3 million money that we have, that we are using, right? So yeah, I mean, where are you investing in multifamily right now?
Well, we have a 45 unit RV park under contract right now. So it's in Branson, Missouri. It's in like the Ozarks.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been there. I love that area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would start connecting with, some of the local people in Branson, Missouri too, and see what happens if you still need to make up that fund.
Okay. Thank you.
Oscar, we got a couple more questions, but I want to save them for the Q&A, and I want to take some time to get into to the breakout rooms if we can. So for right now, we're going to cut the recording part short, and we're going to get to the breakout rooms. If you guys are watching the video right now on YouTube, please like Oscar's video. Please give comments and support our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Oscar, if people want to connect with you, is it Instagram, LinkedIn? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
The best one is to either Facebook Messenger or just Instagram.
Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
My handle is Oscar the Closer, so you can just connect from me there. I put that in the chat. So just DM me if you have questions. And by the way, if anyone interested in profit first for real estate investor, I have a lot of digital copies that I purchased as part of my relationship with David, who's the author. So if you want free Kindle copies, just DM me and I'll give you a free copy.
I will be DMing you for a copy, my friend. Hey,
Okay.
Oscar, thank you so much for joining us today. Total gold nuggets all over the place. My last question to you before we leave, my group is a networking group, and I talk all the time about the importance of building relationships. But after a while, I'm just kind of saying it. And I know all our guest speakers have different perspectives on what part of that is important. With you and your experience as an investor and a role model within our community of Step 2, what do you think the importance is of networking via social media or just in general for the new investor, for people that want to take their game to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's even more important in the beginning phase of your journey is to network. Not only to discover what's out there, but to start, building up your team player, right? Because everyone that comes in, your mind or your digital Rolodex to start thinking already, what is, how can I give values to each other? How JJ and me can do more business in the future, right? That's really should be your goal when you meet with someone, right? Because if it's not going to happen the next day, it's going to happen eventually. So, it is very, very key. Like when I started, I probably went to like 3 RIA meetings every week, right? And a lot of those, you just kind of sit down and look at people. But, you found 1 or 2 people that you continue the relationship. And guess what? Like 3 years down the road, suddenly you meet again and they're in a different phase of their life. 3 years ago, they're not ready to invest. Now, 3 years later, suddenly like, hey, Oscar, remember you asked me 3 years ago if I want to invest. Well, now, I got my life set up and everything. Now I have some money to invest. Right? Those are very, very important. The network cannot stop. Right? But the way your network is going to evolve as you continue. Right? The way Sasha network is going to be slightly different than when she started the first time. Right now, she needs certain people to be in her circle. Right? With Sasha, it might be you might have to join another mentorship or another mastermind that will provide you with this way, to get this funding. Right? So these are different types of networking. Right? And some of them are high level mastermind that you have to pay $30,000-$50,000 not when you right? But this will open more doors and have you scale. But in the beginning, do what you can. Do whatever the free media meetings that's happening, this type of Zoom that's happening. These are the way your conversation. It has to be intentional. Right? You have to know. You can't just. Here's the thing with people, right? When people connect with me, it's always Oscar, what value can I provide you? It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to give you a quiz, and personality test, right? You tell me what are you good at, and I'll figure out a way to have you involved in my business if there's a possibility, right? I know, like, for example, Sasha is a go-to in Hawaii. That's in my brain. Like, Sasha equals Hawaii, like, so that's really, you want to label yourself, and that's part of branding, right? You want to label yourself. For like JJ is a networking guy, Sasha is the Hawaiian girl. Gwen, I don't know. Peggy, I don't know. right? But you got to come in instead of asking what value can you give. Like, Oscar, I'm really good at this, so let me know if you need me to do this, right? It's okay. You got to work on your strength. Like, Oscar, I'm not good. Like, I don't have any money yet, but man, I'm really good at this and I'm willing to do this if it helps us together. That's where partnership gets started.
Thank you so much. That so right on board. I love your comment about intention, because one of my favorite quotes, if you will, I like to say all the time: when you network with intention. Networking is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's not a circumstance. I went to a Sub 2 meetup in San Diego. I drove 2.5 hours to see Pace on Thursday night. I got home at midnight. But when I got there, I worked the room like a politician, kissing hands and shaking babies. And to me, as many people as I could. Somebody actually asked me that, and they said, "What's your focus when you come to a mixer? Is it to meet a private money lender? Is it to meet someone to joint venture with?" And I said, my goal is to meet as many people as I can, because it's like fishing. You got to, cold calling, driving for dollars, door knocking. You got to hit 100 before you get that one that locks in. And networking is the same thing. You've got to meet 100 people till you meet that person that could really, really have an impact. So I say, when you network, guys, network with intention. When you're out there, you don't market your business, you market yourself. It's about making yourself visible. If you're not visible, you're invisible. Opportunity walks right past you. So you want to be sitting in the parade, waving at the stands. You don't want to be in the stands looking at the parade. Oscar, thank you so much for your time. Hang on, we're going to go to the breakout rooms. On behalf of Oscar and myself, guys, thanks for joining us. If you're on the call, don't go away. See you guys next week. Come back for more.